Welcome to the Soul to Soul Reflexology Marketing Interview Series. I'm your host, Cassie Killey of On Point Holistic Marketing. I'm here today with Kathy Duvall. I can't talk already. Who is, it's a good thing you're going to do most of the talking. She is a reflexologist who originally qualified in the UK and later certified in the US and has recently landed back in the UK. So welcome, Kathy.
Oh, thanks so much for talking to me. It's an honor.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. So you want to just get started a little bit and tell us, well, normally my question is to tell us about your reflexology practice and the clients you help. I know you're kind of in between gigs at the moment, but maybe just go over like where you traditionally start with or who you traditionally work with.
Yeah, so I started off in the UK and then moved to the US and worked in different settings. So the different settings that I've been in have kind of influenced what kind of clients I've had a little bit. So I started off in a wellness clinic, which was a fairly new concept where I was living at the time in Georgia. So I myself learned an awful lot about holistic kind of different holistic therapies. I'd never been to a chiropractor before, so that was, it was all an education for me, and we kind of fitted well together. The clients there were interested in holistic approaches to health, so I had a few clients who were seeking other therapies for things such as Lyme disease, or people having low dose chemo for cancer, or people with anxiety issues. So real wide variety of people, and obviously I had to kind of introduce reflexology to those people because it wasn't particularly well known there at the time. So I mean, that's a theme that I'll come back to, is knowing your area and the health beliefs of your clients. While I was there, I volunteered for hospice, and I was quite frustrated because they wouldn't let me actually do reflexology because I didn't have the American certification. They were really strict on it. So I actually persevered and just carried on working as a volunteer visitor. So that was really good because I'll mention that I was actually a nurse before I did reflexology. And I had never really worked in depth with people with dementia, and a lot of the hospice clients had dementia. So the very fact of getting to know the people that I was visiting really helped me to develop those skills before I was allowed, when I got my ARCB certification, to actually practice. So that was a real kind of, it was a step-by-step thing, but it was beneficial. Everything builds up to influence your practice. And then after that, we moved to Chicago, and I found a really beautiful little office just for myself, which was like a dream come true, because I had total control over the environment, and I had this beautiful little attic room in an old hotel. Hang on a second, my Adobe has come up. Yeah, and yeah, it was an old hotel. It was a blacksmith's cottage before that, so it had a really nice atmosphere. And the clients that came to me there, a lot of them self-referred. They saw me, they sought out reflexology. They knew what it was and what they wanted. So the kind of health beliefs were the different there as well. That was really interesting. People saw it as something that would benefit their health, and looked up on the professional website, which was amazing. And then after that, we moved again, and I kept hitting brick walls. I had to keep asking people, do you know of any offices? Is there any space? Is there anything locally where I could be based? And it did take about 3 months. And I connected with an acupuncturist who said, hey, I don't have space at the moment, but this new organisation is starting up called Healthy Lifestyle Network, which is a group of anybody interested in holistic healthcare in the area, to self-refer, to refer within themselves and refer clients. And so that was wonderful. And they just bought a building, or, just taken out a lease on a building for different practitioners. And I kind of knew that I might not be there long term, so they were very good, and they gave me a 6-month lease, and they let me share with 2 other practitioners because I knew it would take time to build up clients. So they let me share, and I actually had the room for 2 days a week. So that's kind of where I'm up to. And obviously I'm just rethinking everything through, and I'm doing my kind of approach, my research approach. Now I'm back here, because although I trained here, I've never worked here as a reflexologist. So I'm kind of finding my feet. You know, we were living in France at the time that I did my training, so it's all very, very convoluted. So that's just to talk as well a bit about specialization, because that seems to be the buzzword with whenever you hear in marketing talk, they say know your clients, who are your clients, find your clients, go to where they are. And to the tail end of my practice in south of Atlanta in Georgia was very influenced by meeting up with a psychiatrist who was really interested in holistic therapies, and she started referring all her clients with anxiety to me, which was amazing. So I was able to take advantage of that relationship, and she invited me to join her Holistic Doctors Association. So I met with doctors dealing with PTSD and all kinds of other issues, and they were all open to holistic care. So that was something that was kind of coming into fruition, and something that I think may be my specialty, if there is such a thing, because I found a real affinity for helping people with anxiety and anxiety issues. So I think kind of that's where I'm headed next.
I mean, I feel like it's common to talk about making referral partners with other holistic practitioners, but not to go that makes so much sense. People have anxiety and you can help them.
Yeah, it was really, really good. So, and I'm also a certified clinical aromatherapist. So that's a really good tie-in, because there's so much you can do for anxiety with essential oils. I also did a small course on tapping, emotional freedom technique.
I like that.
And I love teaching people things like alternate nostril breathing, and techniques that they can use if they're feeling panicky. And I made a small video about anxiety with reflexology points. So I think, it's kind of coming together, and I think everybody has anxiety at the moment. It's a worldwide pandemic of anxiety, to be honest. So I don't think there's anyone who doesn't need help with anxiety.
Yes, that is so true right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things I want to backtrack and ask you to talk about more. That was like so packed. Let's go back to the first place you were at in Georgia. So I'm just curious. So it sounds like at that place, people were coming there for help, and then they were kind of saying, you should see this person in our practice, or that person. Is that kind of how it worked then?
Yes, that's right. I did join a lot of kind of organizations that I could do. I never felt that it took off as easily as it did in Chicago. And I think some of that was a cultural issue. I think that if you're in a place where people are very much into holistic care, they will seek you, they will pay for it, they will not see it as a treat, as it were, to have a foot massage or as part of a massage experience. They will seek you because they want the health benefits. And I didn't always feel that happens in my first practice. I felt like I was kind of, I was lucky. I had some lovely clients and people that I really bonded with, but I found it harder. And that's why I think working in different places, you could be the most brilliant reflexologist in the world, but if people aren't on that wavelength and you can't persuade them, it can be very difficult. So some of it's luck, yes, some of it's perseverance. but some of it is just where you land, and it's, you know, it can be harder some places than others to get clients.
That's so interesting though, that you were in a wellness clinic. I mean, so people coming there were specifically more open to it, but then yet they still didn't quite.
Yeah, so yes, they were kind of coming for specific things, maybe a bad back or, you know, an IV. So I was kind of an add-on maybe, but maybe they weren't coming to see me particularly for a while.
The practice was saying, oh,
till they got to know me and what it was all about. So, and I think as well, I was starting out then, so I was probably less confident. I think a lot of it is about the image you project of yourself. I was in a new culture, and the US, UK cultures are so different. Also, you know, I'd lived abroad for 4 years before I went to the US, in France and Belgium. And I found that the culture change to the US was greater than it was to those countries in Europe where I didn't speak the language, or, you know, it was very different. So I don't think you can underestimate that. So I was learning an awful lot of things about myself. I'd only just finished my nursing as well. So I'd had a career in nursing, and being a holistic therapist was new to me as well. So I think, yes, some of it's how I was at that point. And I was probably much more confident when I had my own office and, you know, my own practice, which was 7 years later. So, yeah.
I'd like to talk about the transition then. So when you were at the place in Georgia and they were kind of, so they were feeding you your clients more than you were.
Yeah.
Then when you moved to Chicago, it was all you.
Yeah.
So talk about like how that worked then for you, from where you were being, you know, just kind of handed clients to where now.
Yeah. I think a lot of it was luck. I like the word serendipity, because I just had a series of things that happened that made it all fall into place. I think a lot of it is how you project yourself, like I said. And I realized that you can't, when I first went to America, I kind of hid myself away for a year thinking, oh, what's going on? I don't And then I gradually, as I joined more and more things and met more and more people, I thought, oh, you know, this is great. And I have to give a shout out to the holistic therapist that taught me in Georgia, because that was again part of my development there that led to me being more successful in Chicago. Was Roz Zollinger from the Heal Center Atlanta and Cotan. He was fabulous too, so they really helped me. So I arrived in Chicago and thought, well, I've just got to join everything. I don't know how long I'll be here. And we moved because of my husband's job, not because of any particular desire to move to particular places. So I joined a networking group that someone told me about just randomly. And they were super keen on reflexology, and they were a group of women who were kind of my age and younger and had small businesses. It was a really cohesive group. It had been going for like 20 years. It wasn't a national group, so the women all knew each other really well. It didn't cost much. It was only about kind of $40 for the whole year. So it wasn't like some of these others where you go and they want to charge you $2,000 for a year, or, you know, it was really perfect for me. And so they became my clients just to try it out. And then at the end of the network meeting, there was a thing where everyone went round and said thank you to each other for, you know, whatever service they'd used since the last meeting. And there was always someone who'd been to see me and said, oh, Kathy did this for me, or Kathy did, you know, made this, and my hip's better now. And it was really fabulous to get that feedback for me as well. And we all did presentations in turn, so that got more clients. I also had a fabulous neighbour who became a great friend, and she bought gift vouchers for everyone she knew, so that was another source. And then what else? The lady in the boutique at the bottom of the stairs where I was really enthusiastic, so she told me to put flyers, and she put them all in her bags when she sold any clothes. So it was just such a difference. And then of course I had all these people ringing me who said, oh, you know, I've got this problem and I found you on the Reflexology Association of America website. and I've got this A, B, and C, and can you help me? So it was kind of a real mixture of clients there, and it was fabulous. Yeah, and I really bonded with some of them. It was kind of a really nice relationship. So I was sad to leave.
I bet. I mean, that is just amazing how you had so many people who were so eager to help you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It kind of, a lot of it is kind of luck, I think. And, I was chatting to my friend Maureen, who's kind of my reflexology aromatherapy buddy. We're really good friends, and we met on a course right at the beginning of my time in the States, and we've been like very super close since. But we bounce ideas off each other, and she is always busy. She is kind of a full-time reflexologist. And I said, well, Maureen, what do you think? Is it luck? And, she's got the charm of the Irish. She's really fabulous and very, very warm person. And she said, no, a lot of it is perseverance. She said she had a great role in this active aging centre where she was working a couple of days a week and had lots and lots of repeat clients. And she said it was only the fact that she sat outside the activity manager's door for 4 hours to get seen that led to the breakthrough in her being allowed to, access their residents. So, I can see you have to have nerves of steel in a way. And, when I moved back to Georgia, I was getting a lot of people not returning calls and not even acknowledging that I'd kind of asked them a question about somewhere where I could work. So you have to not take it personally and just think, well, they're busy, they don't understand what I'm doing. I'll find the right person eventually in the right place. So, yeah.
Wow. I being not too far from Chicago myself, it's kind of like I have an affinity for Chicago, I guess. So I'm like, oh, I love that the Chicago people like get it.
Yeah, they really did. They really got it. So yeah, and I really enjoyed being there. It was a great place.
But that you can still be successful. And I also like though that kind of you've illustrated that you can still be successful and do it regardless of where you're at.
Yeah, definitely. And I think some of that is the disadvantage of moving. Some of it's an advantage because you have to reassess your skills and reassess your direction and evaluate where you're heading and make sure everything's up to date, your website. And I kind of ignored mine for a while, and I just looked at it today and thought, oh my gosh, it still says I'm working in Peachtree City. That's really bad. People will be looking for me and there's no phone number. So that kind of thing, keeping up to date with yourself. But yes, you do lose your long-term kind of clients that you built up a relationship with. So that's very bad for business. Obviously.
At least you're going in with testimonials on your website, at least from your...
Yes, I do have some of those, definitely.
So now when you went back to Georgia though, so you've already done this a couple times, and I know you had some trouble getting through, but what was your go-to approach? What was your first thought of like, this is how I'm going to make this work again?
Well, again, I looked for networking groups and people who were hopefully in a similar vein. So chiropractors, acupuncturists, and I had some passive resistance, like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Ring me next week and we'll talk about it. Or, come back in an hour and I'll chat to you. And then they wouldn't speak to me, or the receptionist would say, oh no, sorry, we're busy. And all I really wanted was a polite no. No, we don't have a room. No, we're not interested in reflexology. But it seemed that people were a bit kind of, just not giving me any kind of clear answer. So it was just a matter of keep going till I had the breakthrough with the acupuncturist and this fabulous group that I'd never had known about, and this building that was just taking off. So, again, it was a lot of luck there, but perseverance as well. Yeah, not just giving up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to forget to circle back to talking about the nursing. You want to talk about your transition from nursing to reflexology, and has that helped you?
Yeah, so I think it helped me in that there's a I think it must be very difficult for reflexologists that begin from a background of, say, business or something which they haven't had a lot of health education. It's not impossible, and it's a great therapy that anyone can learn. And we aim to teach carers, we aim to teach parents. It's not such a big mystery, but I think having the medical background helps. I think in some ways it leads to some inner conflict, because obviously you're trained in quite a rigorous science-based way, and then moving into holistic therapy, there are lots of different strands of that. So sometimes I'll hear something and I'll think, gosh, that just doesn't fit with me, that just doesn't sound believable or based on scientific method. But in a way, I had to kind of get away from that. So I think I'm a real blend of foot in both camps. So I definitely believe in, the holistic approach, that the physical body is very related to the spiritual body and the emotional body, and that to separate them is foolish. And, I think a lot of medical people are thinking along those lines now. So, yes, I think in some ways it's a help. In other ways, it maybe makes you a bit more, I suppose, a bit more critical thinking about what direction you want to go in. And at first I was very much, oh yes, it's a nervous pathway, it's a connection with the nervous pathway, it's physiological. And then now, as time's gone on, and I just know for myself about the exchange of energy that there is, and the emotional impact of touch on a person. So it goes a lot deeper than just the kind of known science, shall we say. Yeah. And I probably, if without moving, I probably wouldn't have stopped nursing. It was the physical difficulty of retraining, because we were in different countries, and also I had 2 children and my husband travelled all the time, so it was kind of not possible for me to carry on a shift type of job, So reflexology is fitted in great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now I know, oh, sorry, I forgot to silence that. I've heard people talk about interest in getting into like hospitals or doctor's offices and kind of trying to bring reflexology to that. And I think some places it's maybe more accessible than others. But have you ever thought about that, or, just kind of curious with your background, if that would?
Yeah, so I really did try. And one of the examples of this was, I did the Sally Kay course with breast cancer, the lymphedema course, which absolutely blew me away, and I was so excited. But I kind of found that unless you have a nursing qualification in that country, so for example, I had a friend who had a nursing qualification, and she was able to go in and teach reflexology and do aromatherapy, but without that I didn't feel there was an access to me. And I even found it hard to persuade the local breast care group that I was kind of a person who wanted to do something helpful, and that it was a helpful approach. So I still think there's a really big bridge there to cross.
Well, that's interesting.
And even though I had a nursing degree when I was trying to work for hospice, even with that, they still wouldn't let me do reflexology on their clients. And I know that's 2 separate things, but I had a qualification in each thing. So I think in the UK it's better. I think there are an awful lot of holistic therapists within cancer care centres, and I think it's probably going to be easier from that point of view. But I have noticed that paid jobs doing that are quite tricky to come by. A lot of the hospice work is, you see, please volunteer for our care. So they're asking counsellors to volunteer, holistic therapists, people with professional skills, but they are kind of donating their time, as it were. So
that's in the US and the UK both?
Well, that's more that I don't really know in the US about being paid. I know my friend was paid in the hospital, but she had a nursing qualification. But here Here, yes. I think there are more specific jobs within cancer centres where you can get paid, but I think as well there's a big voluntary side to it where people are giving back as reflexologists, which is great. But I can't, I'm still very new to the UK, so I might be wrong. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I just wasn't sure, like with the different type of healthcare setup, if that made a difference or not.
Yes. Well, the NHS does have guidelines about complementary therapies, but I think from a medical side of things, I think they are a bit more welcome here, from what I can gather.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've been just taking us all over the board here. Jumping back and forth. I'm like, oh wait, I want to hear about this. I want to hear about that. What about your approach now? So you've worked like in a couple different situations. Do you have any kind of a dream situation as far as like, do you want your own place? Do you want to work out of an office? What are you looking for as you start your newest?
Yeah, so I think the key is to be flexible. I think everyone has their dream practice. I think my dream practice would be to be in a small town or village and be almost like a general practitioner. People come to you with all their different things and you can help them. I don't know how realistic that is. I have seen a few people who've achieved that in the UK, and they do maternity, and they'll do pain management. So that would be wonderful, but for now I'm just going to concentrate on, I think, one area and building some bridges there. So the mental health side of things. My husband's a businessman, so we're thinking about maybe he's training to do some coaching, so maybe like business coaching, stress management. I started doing some Zoom videos, as I think I mentioned at the beginning. So I'm quite, that was a real baptism of fire. I was kind of really scared of doing that. But once I'd done a couple, I got more confident. And, with COVID, you have to find new ways to express yourself and to engage people. So I'm really passionate about helping people do reflexology on themselves. I think we can't just keep it as a big secret. And I think people will always want to come to us for a thorough session and a personalized session. But to send them home with homework and to send them home with exercises to do for in between visits to you is a real priority for me. And to do some education videos online that are good quality and based upon good clinical practice. So yeah.
So have you been
also training to be a massage therapist now since I came back to? I just always, I never thought I would do it because reflexology is so different. But I always had a group of people who would say, oh, I wish you could add in a back massage or a neck massage. I have this real problem. And when I was doing a Thai reflexology course, we were massaging up the leg. And the rules are very strict in the States. If you're working as a reflexologist, you can't touch above the foot. That was the law in Atlanta anyway, in Georgia. So I thought, there's a whole kind of section of this that could add to what I'm already doing. So that's something that I'm going to build on too while I'm in this transition stage. So
Now, have you been offering virtual things like one-on-one, or you're just putting out recordings out there?
Yeah, so it was actually for the people who had signed up for the Healthy Lifestyle Network, which was the group that I was with, and it was wonderful. There were different classes each day, and people only had to pay $10, I think, for a month. It was crazy cheap, and it didn't really take off like we thought it would. So we were all working really hard, and someone was doing, like a workout, the physio, and someone was doing energy techniques, and I was doing lots of different things. I did ear reflexology. I even did some like a demo in my kitchen of how to make a respiratory blend with aromatherapy oil. So if anyone, British people know Blue Peter, it was very like Blue Peter. So that, I don't regret doing it at all. It didn't take off, but I really feel that's something that, as therapists we can build on. And it just gave me a bit of confidence as well to present myself and not be afraid. So I would encourage everyone to try it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes things just work out that way too. So like it got you out there, even if it didn't take off, and now you can do it.
Yes, I said my daughter's coming back from college at Christmas and she's bringing her film camera with her. So I said, let's do some more videos. She's like, oh, Mum, not again. And my poor son kept getting dragged into them because it was lockdown. There was no one else to do demos on. He's like, Mum, I'm sleepy. So that was really good as well. So
nice. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure we talk about all the things.
I was going to say, I'd like to talk about some mistakes that I've made, maybe.
Oh, definitely. That'd be great.
Yes, there's only a few. But just if people are starting up, don't be tempted by all these fabulous salespeople who are promising the world to you. I signed up for this magazine in Illinois. I was kind of taken in a bit. And it was a local magazine which had features on the different people who advertised in it. So they did a really nice spread with a picture and an article. But I think that only generated one client. A lot of my clients that I already had saw it and loved it. They were like, we saw you in the magazine. But I had an advert every month in there. And even though he gave me a half price rate, it was still like, it was worth one client a month's salary. It wasn't worth it. And I was tied into it for 2 years, which was also very foolish. So be careful of that. What was the other thing? Yes, value your time. I think a lot of us as reflexologists, especially if you've been doing another job, find it hard to not give away your services for free. I've done a lot of that. Always obviously you can do trial sessions and introductory sessions, but I was doing an awful lot of introductory work that really should have, I should have charged people more. And I think if you don't, the type of people who come when you cut your prices or have a voucher aren't necessarily the type of people who will become long-term clients, because they're interested in a cut price offer rather than invested in reflexology or becoming well through reflexology. So I think that's something to be aware of.
So let me build on that for a second then. So so you're not a fan of the discounts. Did you ever do any kind of like value added things instead? Did those work for you or?
Yeah, so what did work was getting people to book like 3 sessions at once. People who were regulars, if you booked 3 sessions at once, then it was $10 or $20 cheaper. And even if it was just a small discount, people really appreciated that because they knew they were going to come anyway. So it was really worth doing that. I often would add in a little aromatherapy inhaler if they came with a particular issue, not charge them, or a little, I always had some things that I'd made like soaps or creams, and, I often would give people a soap or a cream because I think, I read a bit about the law of reciprocity and how when you're honest and generous and interested in people, it makes them want to, they want to pay, they want to come back, they want to reciprocate with kindness. So I think that really, really, that really works as well.
Yeah. So you weren't offering these as like promotions. You were just kind of saying, you're my client and here, I want to give this to you. Kind of
Yes. For established people. When I started in Illinois, I did a lot of voucher, I did a lot of clients. And I think because I'd come from nowhere and nothing, it did help me to, meet some new people. But I think once you're established and you have clients, look after the clients you have. That's really, really worthwhile, maintaining your clients and keeping them coming back. Asking them when they come, so what looks good for you? Have your diary open. have a physical diary, not just your phone, so you can write it in, say, oh, I've got next week or 2 weeks time. And I was very bad at that at first. I was kind of like, I can't ask them if they want to come back. Maybe they didn't like it. And, they were all like, oh, that was so good. That was so good. So I think sometimes clients need a bit of encouragement too. Yeah, I know myself, if you go for a haircut or something and they say, oh, do you want to book your next appointment? It kind of makes you go to the next one and jogs your memory. So yeah, so I think that my friend Maureen, she always sends people birthday cards, clients, or Christmas, checks in with them, makes them feel valued and that they are, part of your world and part of your relationship. So yeah, I think that's good for keeping people. So what was the other? Oh yes, things like Yelp and Google pursued me hotly for about a year. And I just kept going down rabbit holes with them. And luckily I spoke to a marketing person who said, just don't go there. You don't need to pay for Yelp or Google. So that was good. Be careful. Oh yeah, if you're using online bookings, be careful that you really keep on top of it, because a couple of times I had people who booked in the night and I haven't seen that they booked, and they'd be turning up at the door at 9 and I'd be like, and really coordinate your what you've got going on, because you don't want to say to someone who's booked, I'm really sorry, I actually have something else going on that day. That looks bad.
So you need to make sure everything's on your calendar to block out.
Yes, that was something that I had problems with.
Also, set, I've always done that, set limits. You have to book at least 24 hours in advance, and so Yes,
I did that, and I had that written on, but obviously they hadn't seen it, so it was kind of like, please call me if. So yes, in the end, I blocked off the day before at the end of each day, so people couldn't book. But yeah. So the other thing I was thinking about was, we are all keen to do lots of training as reflexologists, and there's so many fabulous courses out there, but just be careful and think about how you're going to use it and if you're going to be able to use the training. Now everything I've done has had some benefit, or I've been able to incorporate some aspect of it, but some of those courses are a big outlay. So if you think that you're not going to come across many pregnant ladies, or, obviously you can go and seek them out. But I know people who've done maternity training found it hard to get clients. So, I think it's good to have it because then you've got those skills, but just kind of don't put all your eggs in one basket if you're focusing on one particular client group or training. And the other thing that happens is make sure you've got some training buddies so that afterwards you can practice, because the trainer often goes away and leaves to wherever they came from, especially in the States where it's so big, and then you're left thinking, oh, what was. You can always ask them, but it's much better to have a practical buddy to swap with.
Oh, so, that's a great tip.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll be quiet now. You got anything else?
So that was your list of mistakes, is that? Or that was all of your list of mistakes then?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Very many at all.
Yeah. So another thing I was thinking about was, we were talking about how to keep clients. I think if you do a good assessment, that's really helpful too. Obviously, we're all professional, we all try and do a good assessment. But it seems to me the further along some people get with therapies, they become a bit more blasé because they know the client. And something that Sally Kay taught us was very good about evaluating your care. She used a system like MyCore, which is a health score. So making sure your practice is tailored to what the client wants and not what you think they want or what you want to give them. I think that's a really good tip. And obviously, if someone gives you a very personal care and seems interested in evaluating how it's helping you, and you can document that, you can use it for research then in the future, which can only help us as reflexologists to give evidence of our effectiveness. So
do you use a form, or you kind of make notes every time they come in?
Yes, I really do. And I think that part of that comes from my nursing background. Always document things contemporaneously, and often it's hard. There's no chance of remembering what parts of the foot you found an issue with 2 hours time when you've done another client. So always kind of try and record things, even if it's just in jot form, till you can write it up properly after the client. So I think that's really important.
Nice.
The other thing I've been learning here in the UK, the difference is really strict laws about note keeping. It's called General Data Protection Regulation, and it's a real buzzword here. Right. Yeah, and I know you have HIPAA in the US, but it didn't seem to be quite as regulated for holistic therapists because they're not registered locally, or so the qualifications in each state were so different. But here there's definite guidelines for holistic practitioners, so there are lots of things I've got to learn now I'm in this new place. I've got to learn the local laws, how to get a business license, things that you don't necessarily think about. Are you allowed to even work from your house or not? Things like that. So
that's true. Another thing. I noticed since I work with people in the UK too, like in but yeah, the GDPR is a lot stricter, and like it affects like how you do your website and your email list, and then like your client records. So there's a lot of different things to make sure with.
Yes. So going back to the theme of moving, that's another aspect of moving, is making sure you're in line with the local laws.
Different everywhere, huh?
yeah, that's right. So.
Oh yeah. You also mentioned website development. I think you were going to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, so I actually do my website myself because.
What do you use?
I use Wix, because when I do another course or add on a treatment, I was frustrated if I had to go and ask someone, or if I couldn't do it myself. And I've somehow found myself helping different people out with their websites, because I always sign up to join groups. So one group had me make one on one of the other platforms, and then another one was WordPress, and I really struggled with those two. So I needed something that was easy to use, and I found it super easy to to update it regularly, easily. So but I really like all your for marketing, like for Facebook and Instagram, I really like your graphics. That's a real bonus. So I really shout out for your on point holistic marketing and 1 Foot Club. It's absolutely perfect for for creating professional logos and little kind of graphics for us. So
thanks.
Yeah. And people do find you from your website. I think one thing I've got to work on is the keywords for searching, and that's something I need to work on for here. So you come up properly on the, when people do a search.
Yeah, making sure your address and everything is updated, and
yeah, and those key search words. I'm not sure about that yet, so.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, a lot of times I feel like the best part is even just the Google My Business. I assume, do you have?
Yes, I do. I do have that. Yeah.
I think that ends up like, because sometimes a lot of times if people are just Googling, reflexology and things like that, like I see that they are. It just seems like that the Google listing is so prominent.
The most important.
Yes. Yeah.
But I have to say, I've had a few issues with that, because when you move, they won't accept your premises until they send you a confirmation card, and I did that, and it kept getting lost because it was a new premises, and so it took a while to even get Google to acknowledge me. And it's still, when I Google my business, it comes up as my first address, like 10 years ago. So even though I've told them I am no longer there, and the website before it was changed. So I think sometimes it can be difficult to wipe all the past stuff off.
Yeah, and thinking about keywords too, I know like sometimes even if you just have an article on a certain health issue. So like one of the websites that I help manage, and I see plantar fasciitis, that page, it's
Yeah.
often one of the search, the driver for search results and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah, yes, it's true. Yes, there's a lot to learn.
so it sounds like for you, like anxiety, talking a lot about anxiety on your website and reflexology. And
Yeah, yes, I think so. I think obviously you kind of attract the people that you feel you can help. So they're probably the group of people that I've found success with. Although having done some different trainings, pain management's becoming a more, another string to my bow, having done some specific pain management techniques. So yeah, it's great. The more courses you do, the more opens your mind. So there's great opportunities out there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else you have a whole long list here. I want to make sure I cover everything.
Okay, sure.
Anything jumping out that you want to talk about next, or you want me to pick one?
So I was just going to maybe talk about how to find clients through doing local fairs and vendor fairs, because that's a really big thing in the US. I don't really know in the UK yet, but I just had a few points that might help people if they were going to sign up for a vendor fair. So check the conditions and the cost involved, because often there is a significant cost. And when we were in Georgia Reflexology Organisation, we were trying to do voluntary sessions for World Reflexology Week, but some of the business side of it wanted to charge us a vast amount of money, even though we were doing it as a charitable thing. So things like active living centres, elderly care centres often have open days that you can go to and offer sessions for people. And so if people were thinking of doing that, just be prepared, be really, really well set up. Try and have a helper with you if possible, because it's really hard to actually do the reflexology and talk to people and, coordinate everything. So have your sign-up sheet, have your clock, have a drink for yourself and a snack for yourself, because you won't be getting off that chair for about 4 hours. Have a finish time and have a sheet with some timings on for people, so that if you run late, you can still get away before. I remember one thing I did was a school fete, and I ended up, because I'd signed up too many people, I ended up being the only person in the field. Everyone else had kind of cleared up and gone home. So yes, that's the thing. Another one of the other things I did, I signed up to do a lunch and learn for an active aging centre, and the lady phoned me the week before and said, oh yeah, we have 10 people signed up, so you need to provide lunch for them, and they'll come and eat lunch and you'll tell them all about your business. So that was fine until on the morning of the talk, about an hour before I was due to present, she said, oh, I don't know if you got my message, but we actually have 50 people signed up now. And so I had an hour to get lunch for all these people. And it cost a lot of money, and it was very stressful, and it all went fine. But I think I only got, say, one client from that. So you've got to kind of balance, is it worth it? So look at maintaining confidentiality. If you're doing like public events, you still should be doing some form of assessment of people. And I get really upset when we're taught so much to assess people, and I know you can't work out a personalised kind of session for them, but still have an idea of their name, their contact details to follow up, and just to be aware of anything outstanding with their health that they should tell you beforehand. So that was just a few tips about vendor fairs, but they can be really good source of getting new people.
Now, did you attend vendor fairs of like any topic, like like if it's just a general one, or did you try to stick to more health related ones, or did you?
No, anything, absolutely anything. Yes, because kind of people will wander past you, and usually you just need one person in the chair, even if you grab someone that and say, start me off. Once one person has sat down, you'll just get one of the best ones I did was a fashion show for the boutique lady that I was telling you about. And so everyone was at the fashion show and they were eating, and then they'd come for reflexology, and it was just fabulous. Everyone loved it. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah. It's good to know too that it doesn't have to have a health focus, that
No, and it's good for people who wouldn't otherwise understand, what it was all about, to try it. So yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What other marketing things have you found super successful like that you've enjoyed?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is just as you go along. I don't think I could point to any one thing that has been more successful than another. I think it's a mixture of all those factors. So like your personality, local culture, good luck, having some allies, people who'll refer, networking groups, vendor fairs, and social media. I really can't think of any one thing that was, the radical,
It all,
thing that brought me the most. I think it's just very, very holistic. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and there's been some good things recently. There was a really good talk on YouTube. You might have seen it. Was the National Reflexology Conference, and she was called Jen Schwab, and she did a really good little summary of marketing skills that people can watch, and that was very much about optimizing current clients, ideal clients, website, brand identity, having something you can tell people quickly what you do. And I've struggled with that, they call it an elevator pitch, don't they?
Do you have one now?
Using press releases. And then one thing I thought would really help people who are maybe not great at marketing and sales is, I don't know if you've seen this book at all. It's called The Secret Healer's Sales Strategies for Gentle Souls. And I think a lot of reflexologists and holistic people are very kind of, they're not always the best at promoting themselves. It doesn't sit well with them to kind of be really, aren't I great, and come to my thing and I'm going to charge you this much. And this book is written by an aromatherapist, Elizabeth Ashley from the UK, but she actually has some scenarios of how you might introduce yourself and how you might, to gain confidence, and how you might have to ring 20 people before you even get one person to, say, oh yes, I'm interested in talking to you about this. So I'd really recommend that for anyone struggling with sales or marketing strategy.
Oh, wonderful.
as well as talking to you.
With everybody, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, this isn't brilliant at the social media type stuff, but it gives you some, background into how you can promote yourself.
I love that it's like for the gentle soul, because I feel like there's people who are good at sales, and then there's other people. It's harder, and so
that's right. So
you need your own approach.
Yeah, so I think that was helpful for me.
Awesome. Let's see. We've talked about most of this, I think, actually, right?
Yes, I think we really have.
So you've done a great job. You've kind of just covered it all.
Oh, thank you. I know we went kind of from A to Z to B to D, but kind of got stuff in, didn't we? So
those are the best kind of conversations where it just kind of naturally.
Yeah, that's it. You don't want to just hear me reading something out. So that was lovely to kind of clarify my thoughts as well about where I'm heading.
So how about inspiring somebody who's getting started up, either in a new location or for the first time, since again, you're a pro at this. What would you
really just kind of be yourself. A lot of, people respond to your personality, and be confident. Don't have imposter syndrome and think, oh, I've only just started. A lot of it is when you go to a meeting, I'm a reflexologist, this is me, this is my thing. Most reflexologists are intuitive and know it's for them from the minute they touch someone's feet. feel, oh, this is just me, this is right, this is me. So you know that you can do it, and you know that's what you're presenting to the client. So don't be afraid to show that to people who don't know you or don't know about reflexology. Just show your enthusiasm and how much you love it and how you think it's just like a miracle. So that's what I would say.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great. And I think that speaks so much, just seeing your passion and your enthusiasm. So
yes, absolutely love it. So
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for everything you've had to share today.
oh, thank you, thanks for asking me, it was great.